You know that familiar feeling? Someone says something, or a situation arises, and suddenly your entire day feels ruined. For women, this feeling can be magnified by a lifetime of expectation to be calm, nurturing, and agreeable. What if I told you that intense emotional reaction, especially anger, only needs to last 90 seconds unless you keep feeding it? Neurologically, the stress chemicals creating that anger naturally flush from your system in precisely 90 seconds. But we, as women, are often taught to internalize, to replay the story, to rehearse a comeback we'll never say, or to feel guilt for even feeling angry. It's like a smoke alarm going off when you burn toast, but instead of opening a window, you just keep making more toast and then feel bad about the smoke. That rude comment from a colleague, the critical glance from another mom, or feeling overlooked. Your body floods with those stress hormones. That's the 90 seconds. But then the story starts. She thinks I'm incompetent. I'm not a good enough mother. And suddenly, you're still simmering 20 minutes later, or worse, quietly beating yourself up for reacting. When you truly understand this 90-second rule, you realize you have a choice point. You can let the chemicals flush naturally, reclaim your peace, and move on. Or you can feed the fire, feeling it burn through your precious energy. You know that friend who stays calm no matter what? She's not superhuman. She's just mastered something you're about to learn. Welcome to your journey of emotional mastery. Chapter 1, The Button Pusher Myth. How often do we say, "She really knows how to push my buttons," feeling like helpless remote controls? We often give away our power without even realizing it, especially as women, feeling obligated to react. The truth is, nobody can push buttons you don't give them. Those buttons aren't about them having magical powers. They're actually unhealed wounds or deeply held values violations from your past. Your friend makes that subtly sarcastic comment that always hits a nerve. Instead of automatically reacting with defensiveness or hurt, pause and ask, what is this really about for me? Perhaps it reminds you of a critical sister or a time you felt dismissed. Suddenly, your friend isn't pushing your buttons, she's revealing them. When you stop being a remote control, you become the operator of your own emotional state. You reclaim your agency. Nobody gets to decide how you feel except you. Consider your biggest trigger person. What they trigger in you often has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you. Chapter 2, The Secondary Emotion Revelation. Here's something that will shift your perspective. What you call anger, especially that simmering resentment many women carry, isn't always actually anger. Anger is often like a security guard. It shows up to protect more vulnerable feelings like hurt, fear, shame, or deep sadness. When your partner criticizes you and you snap back, you're often not truly angry. You're hurt that they don't see your value or effort. Anger can feel safer than vulnerability, so it volunteers to be the spokesperson. "I'm furious" feels more powerful than "I feel deeply misunderstood." When your partner forgets your anniversary and you erupt, but underneath that anger is a profound hurt. "Do I not matter to you?" When you address the hurt instead of just expressing the anger, a real shift happens. Saying, "I've felt forgotten and unimportant," gets a very different, often empathetic response than "you never remember anything." When you learn to identify the emotion underneath anger, that quiet resentment, that gnawing frustration, you can address the real issue. Vulnerability heals and creates connection. Anger, especially the kind women are often conditioned to suppress or misdirect, just creates more distance. Reflect on your last big anger episode. What was the vulnerable emotion hiding underneath? Chapter 3. The Observer Self Technique. What if you could watch your emotions like weather patterns instead of being swept away by every storm? Inside you is an observer, a calm, wise part that can watch your emotions without becoming them. You can notice, anger is rising, heart rate increasing. But you don't become the anger, you observe it. This observer self is always calm, always present. It's the part of you that can think, "I'm having the thought that this person is dismissive," instead of "this person is dismissive." Your child rolls their eyes at you for the 10th time today. Instead of immediately getting defensive or feeling disrespected, activate your observer. I notice irritation rising and a feeling of disrespect. Now you're watching the emotion instead of being hijacked by it. From this space, you can choose a response that actually helps, like a calm, firm boundary. The observer self gives you emotional immunity. You can experience any emotion without being controlled by it, without letting it define your day or your worth. Think about a time you stayed calm in chaos. You are using your observer self. Now you can do it intentionally. Chapter 4. The Reframe Revolution. What if those difficult people aren't obstacles in your path, but personal trainers for your emotional fitness? This perspective shift is particularly liberating for women, who often feel responsible for other people's feelings. Every challenging person in your life is showing you exactly where you need to grow. That critical boss, she's training your resilience muscle. That passive-aggressive relative, she's developing your boundary-setting skills. Just like a physical trainer, they put you through uncomfortable exercises to make you stronger. Your micromanaging boss sends her 15th email today. Instead of thinking, "She doesn't trust me, I'm a failure," try, "She's helping me practice staying calm under pressure and communicating my value." Suddenly, this isn't personal persecution. It's emotional strength training. You start responding with curiosity, not defensiveness. What do you need to feel confident about this project? When difficult people become trainers, you stop being a victim and become a student. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to level up emotionally. Chapter 5. The Boundary Blueprint. For women, setting boundaries can feel like an act of aggression or selfishness. But boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're gates, and you're the gatekeeper of your own peace. Healthy boundaries are like the skin on your body. They let good things in and keep harmful things out. You just need to be clear about what you will and won't accept without apology. "I understand you're frustrated, but I don't respond well to yelling. Can we talk when you're calmer?" This isn't aggressive, it's assertive. Your friend constantly complains, but never wants solutions. Instead of getting frustrated and drained, set a boundary. "I care about you, but I can only listen to this problem for 5 minutes unless you want to brainstorm solutions." You're protecting your emotional energy while still being supportive. Boundaries preserve your capacity to actually help people instead of burning out from their drama. Remember, you can't pour from an empty cup. Identify someone who drains your energy. What boundary would protect your peace with them? Chapter 6. The Timeout Protocol.
There's a profound difference between strategic retreat and running away. One makes you stronger, the other makes you weaker. And for women, stepping back can often feel like failure or abandoning duty. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is temporarily remove yourself from a triggering situation. This isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You're giving your nervous system time to reset and your calm, rational brain time to come back online. I need to take a break from this conversation. Let's continue when I can respond thoughtfully instead of reactively. Your spouse brings up a sensitive topic right when you're exhausted from work. Instead of snapping or shutting down, say, "This conversation is important to me, but I'm not in the right headspace right now. Can we talk about this after dinner?" You're honoring both the topic and your emotional capacity. Timeouts prevent damage that takes weeks to repair. 5 minutes of space can save hours of difficult cleanup conversations. We've all said things in the heat of the moment we regretted later. Timeouts prevent those moments. Everyone needs breaks sometimes. The mature approach is asking for them instead of just taking them. Chapter 7. The Trigger Map Method. You wouldn't walk through a minefield blindfolded, so why navigate your relationships and emotional landscape without knowing your triggers? For women, triggers often relate to feeling unheard, dismissed, or undervalued. Your triggers aren't random, they follow patterns. People who remind you of a critical parent, situations that echo past rejections, words that hit old wounds of feeling not enough. When you map these patterns, you stop being surprised by your own reactions. "Ah, his tone reminds me of my old boss who never trusted my judgment. No wonder I'm feeling defensive." Knowledge is power. When you see the landmine, you can step around it instead of stepping on it. Keep a simple trigger journal for 1 week. When you get triggered, note who was involved, what specifically did they do or say, what did it remind you of? You'll start seeing patterns. I always get triggered by authority figures who are dismissive of my ideas. Or, sarcasm always sets me off because my sibling used it to hurt me. When you know your triggers, you can prepare for them. Preparation transforms reaction into intentional response. You become proactive instead of reactive. Understanding your triggers is emotional intelligence in action. Notice what consistently triggers you. What pattern do you see? That pattern is your roadmap to freedom.
Chapter 8. The Compassionate Distance. As women, we are often conditioned to be the emotional caretakers, absorbing everyone else's pain. But you can care about someone without carrying their emotions. You can love someone without living their drama. Compassionate distance means maintaining emotional boundaries while keeping your heart open. You can witness someone's pain without absorbing it. I see that you're struggling, and I care about you. How can I support you without taking on your stress? It's like being a lifeguard. You throw them a life preserver, but you don't jump in and drown with them. Your friend is going through a bitter divorce and calls you daily to vent. Instead of absorbing their anger and pain, say, "I want to support you through this. Let's set aside time twice a week to really talk, and the other days, let's focus on positive activities together." You're being supportive without being consumed. Compassionate distance preserves your ability to actually be helpful long-term. Burned-out helpers help no one. Consider someone whose drama tends to consume you. How could you care without carrying? Chapter 9. The Story Stopper. You're not just experiencing reality, you're experiencing your story about reality. And for women, these stories are often deeply colored by self-blame, comparison, or anticipating negative judgment. Change the story, change your emotional experience. Every time someone triggers you, your mind creates a story. They don't respect my time.
They're trying to control me. But these are interpretations, not facts. What if their sharp tone means they're stressed, not that they dislike you? The story you tell yourself determines your emotional experience. Your boss gives you feedback in a curt email. Story number 1, they hate my work and want to fire me. Result, anxiety and defensiveness. Story number 2, they're busy and want to help me improve quickly. Result, curiosity and gratitude. Same email, different story, completely different emotional experience. When you become conscious of your stories, you stop being a victim of your interpretations. You become the conscious author of your emotional experience. Reflect on a recent upset. What story did you tell yourself? What other story could you have told? Knowledge without practice is just entertainment. Here's how to turn these insights into your new automatic responses. This is where transformation becomes your new normal, your new peace. Integration happens through consistent practice, not perfection. Start with just one technique and use it for a week. When someone triggers you, remember the 90-second rule. When you feel reactive, find your choice point. Each time you choose a new response, you're rewiring your brain. Small, consistent changes create massive transformations over time. The woman who never gets bothered by anyone isn't born different. She's just practiced these skills until they became automatic. You can too. Everyone admires people with emotional mastery. Now you have the roadmap to become one of them. Think about who you'll be when difficult people and overwhelming emotions no longer have power over your peace. That person, the calm, powerful, authentic you, is waiting. Go claim her.